Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome along to the StoneX Stadium. This place is home to the serial Gallagher Premiership winners, Saracens, and we've reached the point in this oscillating campaign when the margin for error is virtually nil. Today, the Newcastle Falcons have journeyed to the capital, aiming to end a barren spell of 2.5 years without a league win on the road. The hubbub of the British and Irish Lions unveiling remains amplified, especially here, with Sarri skipper Maro Itoje anointed captain of the tourists down under just 2 days ago. In the here and now, though, the home team's quest for the playoffs could hinge on the next 80 minutes. This is what the Gallagher Premiership run-in is all about. After last night's thriller at Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, Leicester Tigers have taken a firm grip of second place ahead of the team they vanquished in the East Midlands, Sale Sharks. Bath already guaranteed top spot, having swept the board this season. Saracens, one of a clutch of teams whose feet are wedged in the playoff door, desperate to pry it open. 2 rounds remaining after this weekend. So as the table attests, a big day in the offing for both these teams and for the men at the helm. A short time ago, I spoke with each director of rugby. Newcastle's Steve Diamond, and first, Mark McCall of Saracens.
Mark, before we talk about the next 80 minutes, I'm keen to get your reflections on a really special, emotional week for the club. We've got Alex Goode making his 400th appearance for the team today. You've also got the hubbub and the excitement around the Lions announcement, 3 more players going from you, and of course the captain this year is a Saracen. How have you managed this week as a DOR with so much going on?
No, it's been great. It's been enjoyable for everybody, to be honest. To take those one by one, to have Maro as the first ever Saracens captain of the Lions, second Englishman, absolutely incredible. He deserves it so much, and we're proud and we're so pleased with him. With Alex Goode, to play 400 clubs or 100 games, for one club is an amazing, unique achievement, to be honest. And I think on the outside everybody sees his flair and his brilliance and his skill level, but what they don't see is what really got him there, which is his hunger and his drive and his will to win, and to be making his 400th appearance today is out of this world.
The culture here at Saracens is very renowned, very famous. Tell me a little bit about what you've done with the guys who maybe didn't make Lions selection. A guy like Jamie George, for example, who must have been right on the cusp of making Andy Farrell's squad. Door not closed for those guys yet, but while some players are celebrating, some players will also be nursing a bit of disappointment, as pleased as they are for their teammates. How have you managed that as well?
Well, it's not really me managing it. It's them and the quality of people. You want to have quality people in your organisation. Jimmy George has had one of the great careers. He's got 100 caps for England. He's captained England. He's won a lot at club level. He's been on 2 British Lions tours, and he's got a bit of disappointment that he's going to have to deal with, and he is dealing with. And he's been incredibly supportive of those who got good news on Thursday, and I'm sure he's going to do everything he can to get us a good result today.
In terms of the performance today, then, what's top of the to-do list? Where do you see the areas in Newcastle's game that you can go and exploit today?
I wouldn't look at it like that. I think we've learned some pretty harsh lessons in games like this one earlier in the season, against Newcastle, against Quins at the showdown, against Castro when they came here. And that was it. On all of those days, I think we didn't think we had to I don't know, that we could take some shortcuts and be okay, but that's never the case in rugby. You've got to earn absolutely everything you get in rugby, and today we need to do that.
Mark, thanks for your time. Best of luck today.
Thank you.
Well, Steve, before we talk about matters on the pitch, off the field this week, a story broke on the Rugby Pass website yesterday crediting Red Bull with a strong interest in taking over Newcastle Falcons, which, as we know, has been up for sale for a little while. What can you tell us about that reported interest and the ongoing search for new investment into this big club?
Well, it was a surprise to us all, certainly the team when we were travelling down. It's a public record that Seymour Kearney is looking for another investor to assist or to take over, and that search continues. So, as far as I'm concerned, and I'm pretty sure, as being a vital part of the management team, I'd know about these things. I have no knowledge of it, so we just crack on with today's performance, put ourselves in the shop window, and if there are potential investors out there, we've got to show what we're about.
I know there's not a tremendous amount you can say on any of this stuff, Steve, but are you confident that that investment, whether it's from Red Bull or somewhere else, is coming in the short to medium term?
Well, I'm confident that there are people looking at, there's professional people have got the club on the market for Seymour, and I think that's what we have to do, go through that correct process of investors, you know, no doubt in the UK and all over the world. We'll be looking at a slightly undervalued sports, and I think rugby is one of those. So it'll for me, I've just got to keep the squad highly motivated. We've had some distress in the week with Callum leaving, but I think that's the best thing for him to do at this moment in time. So if there was any truth to the stories that are coming out, I don't think Callum would have been leaving as soon as he did. So, you know, good luck to the companies that are looking for the current investor, Seymour Goode, but my job is to try and be as competitive as we can and try and alter the flow of the league at the top by being highly competitive.
What does that look like today, Dimes? You did a real job on Saracens, you caught them off the back of the autumn window and really outplayed them up in the North East back in November. How do you replicate that? Different team, different conditions, different circumstances today, but an opportunity for you to do that.
Well, I think Saracens, you know, didn't play particularly well that night, and we had probably our best game. They've shown us the utmost respect today by picking all of their lions. I'd like to think we could become lion tamers today, but you know, we'll see at the end of the day. We've just got to do the basics right. You know, we were highly competitive against Bath for 50 minutes, and then we got a red card, and that was a change of momentum. Plus their huge bench coming on. Today, Sarries are a formidable team. They'll be looking to celebrate with it's Goode's 400th game, I think. So he'll be trying to get some plaudits and the celebration for those lads getting selected for the Lions. So a difficult job in our hands, but I think we'll be up for the fight.
Dimes, good luck. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, mate.
Well, here are the teams in a few days of celebration for Saracens after the big Lions reveal at the O2 in London. The totemic Maro Itoje, Arud Val's choice of Lions captain, swapping his new red jersey and his earring for a grey one and a scrum cap today. Elliot Daly and Ben Earl also making the cut, the former for the third time, the latter embarking on his first tour. As if that wasn't enough emotion, as we mentioned pre-match, an historic day for Alex Goode, the first Saracen to play an eye-watering 400 games for the club. He'll be leading out the Saracens troops in just a moment's time. No Lions in the Newcastle lineup, which shows 3 changes from the heavy loss at Bath. Louis Brown suspended after being sent off in that game, but former Saracen Elliot Obatiyinbo recovering from a head injury to take his place at fullback. An opportunity for Sammy Arnold, who swaps places with Max Clark in midfield. We won't see Richard Palfreman again this season. He's battling a hamstring problem, but Murray McCallum has showcased himself admirably in the front row as the prop forward targets a Scotland recall this summer. Some more troubling news from the North East this week though. Falcons unable to keep hold of talisman and captain Callum Chick. He's off to Northampton next season, but will be giving every last drop of energy in his final 3 matches for his boyhood club. North London basked in sunshine, 22 degrees and rising in this early May mid-afternoon. It's all a bit much for some of the younger residents. There's the man. Many of the locals are waiting to serenade as he takes his place in a club of one. The Stonex primed and ready. The flags fluttering in the stiff afternoon breeze. And this place drenched in sunshine. Could be approaching a seminal point in the history of Newcastle. Up for sale for a while. Some mouth-watering rumours of potential suitors doing the rounds in the media this week. What does the future hold for this grand old rugby club? On the fields, another painful season for them, but there remains a positivity, a feel-good around the squad who are performing with scant resources, who are losing captain Callum Chick to Northampton at the end of the season. But they have still to win an away match in this competition since November 2022. 911 days and counting. Thursday was all about the Lions. Today is all about one of the ultimate Saracens, the great Alex Goode, who today becomes the first man, the only man, to play 400 games for this prolifically successful rugby club. And out he comes with his children Remy and Lara, with wife Lucy in the stands, flanked by his old mates, the famous faces of a golden era for Saracens, who salute one of their all-time icons. "17 years to the day since his Saracens debut in Milton Keynes. 6 premierships, 3 Champions Cup crowns later. He's not done yet. Alex Goode's 400 not out in Saracens black. And as the Goode tifo snakes its way across the far stand, here comes the cavalry, here comes the Lions captain, Maro Itoje at the vanguard. What a week he's had. Skipper of his club, skipper of his country, and at the third time of asking, skipper of the British and Irish Lions. Elliot Daly touring for the third time. Ben Earl for the first. Perhaps no greater honour for a rugby player from these little islands. Today, though, there's a job to do. Playoff places on the line and extending Saracens season beyond the end of the month. Jack Makepeace is the man in the middle today, backed up by Christoph Ridley and Greg McDonald, with Stuart Terridge in the TMO booth. The Gallagher Premiership run-in gathers pace by the weekends. Every point precious, every match meaningful. The Stonex ablaze with May sunshine, and the Falcons through Brett Connon getting us off and running.
5, take a yard, 5. Thank you.
We have, by the way, got news of a late change to bring you. Troubling one from a Falcons point of view. Connor Doherty was due to be starting this one. He is out, pulled up apparently in the warm-up, so Max Clark, jersey 22, bottom of your picture, is on in the midfield alongside Sammy Arnold.
Now 9.
See a lot of this from Saracens today. They kick more ball from hand than anybody else in the Premiership. Ifan Fonsale, more box kicks than anybody in the league. And they have snaffled it back. Fergus Burke underneath it. Fonsale to the enormous Fijian Ronnie Maui. 140 kilograms of beef. Tompkins back to Goodes. First touch for the quadruple centurion.
No, 7, no.
Fonsale over the top. Tompkins tearing after it. Beautifully weighted for the Welshman. Back to Fonsale. Elliot Daly on the outside. Falcons 22 breach for the first time. Theo Dan, so explosive, the young hooker.
Offside. 9, offside.
Newcastle offside. Freebie for Sarries. McFarland loping through. Wonderful hands to Fonsale. Burke took it on the swallow dive. Fonsale. Itoje off the forehead, but he keeps it alive. Tompkins. Earl got hands in it. And Shegan backpedaling. Penalty awarded. And after a breathless opening minute and a half or so, a chance to welcome former Falcons and England wing Tom May to the action.
Well, a great start by Saracens. Real good, fluid nature to the way they're trying to play the game. Alex Goode getting his hands on the ball really early. It's a big battle today, I think, for Saracens. So much has gone on this week mentally that it can be really difficult for these players to arrive at the Stonex this afternoon and be bang on point. You've got those guys that are riding on the crest of a wave, and you've got the disappointment that's been faced by others. Combine that with an incredible amount of emotions going through that guy's head right now, and you've got a hell of a mix. Newcastle, rightly so, coming out of the blocks and applying line speed defensively.
Dusty line-out drill from Saracens. Itoje couldn't take it in. And Sammy Arnold, who's got a little bit of personal history in this fixture, was ruled out for several months after a nasty clean-out from Hugh Dizzard right at the end of Newcastle's hoodoo-busting victory, first in 15 years against their opponents today, back at the end of November. Dizzard not involved in Saracens' matchday squad for this one.
He's been a big loss, I think, for Newcastle as well, as Sammy Arnold provides them with so much go forward in the midfield, which is, in a game like we have today so important for teams like Newcastle that need to be on the front foot. It's difficult for them to match some of these sides when you look at the power that they're coming around the corner with, but Sammy Arnold has that in abundance.
Front foot ball for Saracens. Shegan. Caught by Cam Neal, who's averaging over 20 tackles a game. McFarland looking for that offload. Finds his captain, Itoje. Dan. Fonsale probing the blind side. Ezekwe back for Goode. Timing of the pass is neat. Burke just scragged. Fonsale again. A missed pass this time to Cleary.
5! No!
And Fonsale buys the penalty off Brocklebank and goes quickly. Fonsale hit hard by Oberto-Yinbo. Inches in it.
I don't have the number though, Stu. Whoever tried to tackle him first.
Try given. Smuggled over the line and under the posts by the Argentine phenomenon. First blood to Saracens and to Juan Martín González.
Well, we certainly felt like it was coming. Saracens with all the possession. Newcastle really sort of mopping up in those tackles rather than coming forward and creating any sort of dominance in that defensive area. Just asleep slightly. Adam Brocklebank looking at Jack Makepeace when actually you just got to get back on side, get back into the game, do your job. And really difficult for a side.
I got nothing obvious, mate.
To defend when you're
clearly picking the ball up for a long
getting
time.
penetrated that close to your own line.
Breakdown's actually over.
Yeah, breakdown's done.
Perfect. He's picked the ball up for a long time. The breakdown's over.
Fergus Burke knocks over the conversion. Saracens lead by 7.
Reviewed it, honestly. He's got the ball for a long time.
I was talking earlier on about how they needed to manage their emotions. Certainly being able to dominate possession in the way that they have done in these opening 5 minutes will have helped that. Just get them into their stride, make sure they're concentrating on the game at hand. Brilliant start from the home team.
Mark McCall's been drilling the importance of mindset, mentality in the week, referencing the weirdly below par performance up in the northeast back in November.
Take it in.
Home loss to a mix and match cast team, the sickener against Harlequins mid-season as well. Got to get that emotional part of the game right, and all the evidence so far suggests Saracens doing exactly that.
This player's whipped it while he's on the floor.
You just feel Newcastle have to take advantage of
Next two plays are
what is,
illegal.
to be fair, Jamie, quite a substantial wind here at the Stonex today. Might be 22 degrees. You're sat there in your T-shirt. I'm togged up already. We're in the shade. It's in behind Newcastle in this first half. You just feel they have to try and capitalise on that. Brett Conant probably be slightly disappointed, I think, with the ultimate outcome of that penalty. All the same, they retain possession.
First 22 visit for Newcastle. They made 8 of these against Bath, and they scored from 3 of them. That red zone conversion rate, as it's known in rugby, Newcastle's the poorest in the league at just 25%. Arnold gives them that platform. Stewart and Lockwood, 15 carries last weekend. Stewart goes blind. Cam Neal, big impact from the former Sale Shark. McCallum opts to tuck and run into heavy traffic, and Saracens mitts all over that. Maro Itoje's snaking fingers all over it, and then Shegan blasts Saracens out of trouble.
I'm not sure that went exactly where Shegan was expecting it to go, but it worked out brilliantly. Found space.
Thank you, Jamie.
All on.
Yeah.
Counter-attacking ball for Saracens. Elliott. 9 tries for the 21-year-old this season. Real breakout campaign for him. Lamira went through. Too many Newcastle Falcons went through.
Can't take him. He hasn't picked the ball up. You haven't picked the ball up, though.
Well, they're going to have to attack that breakdown, Newcastle. Really got to try and apply pressure there to slow the ball down. The only way to really try and disrupt this Saracens attack, which to date has been looking pretty sharp.
Theodan's throw, Maro Itoje's take. Van Sale, Tompkins, flat ball for Ben Earl. Wonderful footage of him celebrating his Lions call up this week with his friends and family. A couple of Saracens teammates watching alongside him.
Off feet.
Newcastle infringe again. 4 penalties conceded inside the opening 10 minutes.
And crucially, a couple of them have been inside their own 22.
Competing on the knees.
The referee will be looking at that, working with his team just to work out whether he needs to have a word to the away side.
He's competing on his knees. Did he not let go when you asked him? No, he's still got hold of the ball. That's why the 9 can't play it. Callum, if he lets go, I completely agree.
7 of the starting Saracens pack, full internationals. Alec Cleary the only one without a cap to his name. They will back themselves to get the job done here. Nobody has scored more maul tries in the Premiership this season than the boys in Saracens black. Butt goes in to help. The charge is inexorable. Newcastle's dam burst, and Theodan has Saracens second.
But they're so well organised in that area and incredibly difficult to stop when they start to get momentum. All of the Saracens backs, bar 1 or 2, joining the fray, and it's simply a matter of numbers. Ball's on Maro Itoje, shifted to the back. Theodan just being nice and patient, and then as the cavalry arrives, it's just that weight of numbers that makes such a big difference. Twisting, good patience in the build-up to the arrival at the line. It's not the toughest score that Theodan will have to score in his career.
The extra supplied once again by Fergus Burke. And Saracens' power game too much for Newcastle to handle.
Fergus is sponsored by Pathwise Associates. Stepping Stadium with the score: Saracens 14, Newcastle Falcons 0. Come on, Sarries!
And Newcastle are just going to have to manage this mentally. They do not want to get into a scenario whereby they're starting to feel that this game's run away from them already. It's a bit of a party atmosphere, and it's a very dangerous environment for them to be playing in.
Well, I spoke already about Newcastle's 2.5-year wait for an away win in the league. We spoke about their drought ending against Saracens at home, but they haven't actually won a match away from home against Saracens since 2007. 6,342 days. Johnny Wilkinson was playing at 10, and a bloke called Tom May was on the wing outside him.
That makes me feel incredibly old. 6,000 days, 6,300. Wow.
Stopping the roll, took the first 2 clearers out.
I'm more concerned that you've added it up.
Out and turned the ball over.
There are websites for that kind of thing. Little look as well, Tom, at Tommy Gordon, who's been missing long-term. First match in 3 months for him, and he was a big part of Falcons' 2 victories at the start of the season. He's going to be a key element of their back row battle, their attempts to slow down and stymie Saracens at the breakdown, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think that's an incredibly important area for any team. But when you've got someone like Tom Gordon, who is so adept at being able to make the right decisions in that area, that's the most important thing. Everyone can try and pilfer ball, but it's the decisions on when to go for it and when to leave it.
Cam Neald up the middle. Stewart, Clark, Conan, slick handling, and Herrell slices Saracens open. Stewart tracking up the inside. Elliott hunts him down, but Stewart will score. And Newcastle again unleashing weaponry we haven't seen for a while.
What a response from Newcastle. Might be that man, Sam Stewart, that dots it down, but Alex Hurl's line, the pace with which he hit that ball from Brett Connors, brilliant. Took pace off the ball, let the defender come to him, and then left the ball on his outside. Incredibly difficult, as I said before, for teams to recover. Excellent score from Newcastle, and just what they needed at exactly the right time.
Simple enough conversion for Brett Connon, and suddenly Newcastle have cut Saracens' lead in half.
Saracens 14, Newcastle Falcons 7. Come on, Sarries!
Look at this ball. Just took a bit of pace off it, drew Elliot Daly in, and then Alex Hurl's ability to track in field created the space for Sam Stewart. Great score.
Taken in.
Next job for Newcastle Falcons is to extricate themselves from their own 22. Try and garner some field position. It's untidy from Stewart. Collins in a world of hurt here. Coughs up possession, and Saracens can put them in the thumb screws again here.
Well, there's a certain phrase that comes to mind when you watch that period of play, and Brett Connon will not be thanking Sam Stewart for that.
I'm not sure if I missed that.
Newcastle fly half under increasing pressure when it comes to getting his team out of the 22. They just need to simplify it. We've got the win behind them, use it. Don't overcomplicate it. Nick Tompkins, it was a bit of a slap, wasn't it? But it worked out perfectly.
Have a look at this setup, Tom. Everybody standing pretty flat. What do those pictures tell you about Saracens are planning?
Well, they know full well that this is an incredibly difficult area for Newcastle to be defending from. Whatever the outcome, it'll depend on what happens up front. The front row will be trying to get one shoulder up, one side of the scrum up, which just takes away that back row. The defenders in the back row for Newcastle find it incredibly difficult to then add themselves into that defensive setup. Saracens will have plans either side. You would imagine Ben Earl would fancy his chance in his hands on the ball.
Let's go, Russ. Crouch. Bind.
On the flip side, Newcastle just have to get off their line, rock it up straight into the Saracens' faces.
Here goes Ben Earl, hammers down, shoulders through everybody. What a week he's had. A man known for his celebrations with a few days, well worth celebrating.
Well, I said he'd be fancy getting his hands on the ball, and he did just that. One player one way, Ben Earl the other, Sam Stewart, Max Clark. You've got to do better than that. Might be a British Lion, might be a Test player. We're yet to find out over the summer, but you've got to do better than that defensively.
No. I'll chat to you when we get a sec.
Not quite this time from Fergus Burke, just didn't bring that one round enough, but 12-point lead for Saracens, and Ben Earl burnishing his Lions credentials again.
It's so difficult to stop, isn't he? Low centre of gravity. His leg drive is the big differentiator. Not many players around that have got so much leg drive into and through contact.
The lack of I suppose an out-and-out number 8 was a key talking point from selection on Thursday, Tom. How do you rate Ben Earl's chances, early as it may be, no Lions matches played yet, of claiming that number 8 jersey against the likes of Jack Conan of Ireland and a couple of other contenders?
I think what I like most about Ben Earl is the way that he plays the game and the dynamism that comes with it. It's that power. Jack Conan maybe a bit bigger. Probably, I'm slightly sort of disrespecting him and saying slightly slower, but it's an acceleration thing really, and that's what excites me when Ben Earl gets his hands on the ball. It's his acceleration into contact through gaps. I've seen him play in the centre. He can do that. He's that sort of player. I think he's in with a great shout of starting against the Wallabies.
This, meanwhile, is an area Newcastle have targeted. Saracens' scrum has not been a great forte this season. It's an area where Newcastle have milked a lot of penalties, second highest scrum penalties won in the Premiership, and this will give them the platform to launch an attack.
When it's pulling bits of the game together, isn't it, for Newcastle? Getting your set piece right is one thing, but then it's maintaining that and then building on it with other areas of the game which haven't been as easy. I think it's fair to say to pull together. At times they've looked brilliant, but it's managing to piece together all of those different aspects of the game into one more consistent performance. I think really that's the focus for Steve Diamond and his team.
Yeah, scrum's been a success for them. Line out has been far less so, and Seb de Chaves has to bat that back awkwardly. Stewart plotting a route through a thicket of meaty legs. McCallum. No! Hawkins. Slow ball for Stewart. Arnold cutting back inside. Brought down by Gonzalez. Stewart, Conan. Murray McCallum, of all people, lurking in the centre channels. Ronnie Maui gets mitts on it and steals it. And Jack Makepeace really with no option but to give the penalty.
Well, Brett Conan got caught out there because he handed the ball on and then almost ran away from McCallum in that situation. Almost had to follow the pass in, get in underneath. Ronnie Maui.
Your player hasn't got the ball, Callum. It's on their side.
To do, by the way, but at least try.
Because your players have trapped it in. I'll referee it both ways, Callum, honest. Yeah.
Callum Duke just making the point to Jack Makepeace quite vociferously that if Ronnie Maui's stolen the ball and the ball then becomes unplayable, why is it a penalty to Saracens rather than a Saracens scrum? But if a referee sees pictures like those, more often than not, his arm's going to be in the air. Loose line out from Saracens. Blameyer rips it away back to Neild and Lockwood, and Clark drifting it out to Ben Stevenson. One-on-one with Alex Goode, who is sat down. 400 games, never too experienced to be put on your rear end. Neild looked for Lockwood, couldn't find him, and Maro Itoje's size 14s
just got a knock on.
Infiltrate that attack.
Mate, come on. Knock on.
You don't often see that. Itoje.
So I've got that completely in the tackle.
Big mitt.
Mate, that's a valid attempt for the ball.
Yeah.
Knock on.
Cheers, mate. Yeah. There you go.
Distinctive accent of Stuart Terridge, our TMO, just confirming that Jack Makepeace was
completely right. Yeah, 100%.
correct
Do that again, I'll penalise you. Let's go.
Award a scrum rather than a penalty for a deliberate knock-on, and Cam Neild rather put in his place by the officials.
Ben Stevenson tucked in behind Brett Conan. They can shift. There's not a huge amount of space, just over 15 metres on this near side.
Fine!
So you'd have to think the better option is to come open and use a bit more of the open field.
Max Clark takes it flat and hard, and then Arnold couldn't regather it. And Fonseca will give Shegan a run. Referee had called advantage over, but he's going to have to go back on his word because Sarri's knocked on pretty much instantaneously.
Well, it wasn't too bad an attack from Newcastle. Two players running around the back. Sammy Arnold so close to hanging on to that ball. He was through the contact. It's something to do, isn't it? It's extreme. I could see you one of them.
Come on, Hawkeye! Yes, come in, slower.
Sights and shouts of an elite rugby scrummage.
Set!
Battle of wits, a battle of muscle and skullduggery.
Balls out.
Earl, Burke, Tompkins back inside to Goode, and what a move this is. Elliott skipping past Stewart, Funsale up the insides, and Clark's pulled up with a hammy. Funsale's under the sticks. 24 minutes, Saracens have pocketed the bonus points.
Well, it's a brilliant score from Saracens. Set piece move that's worked and opened up the exact space they wanted to. Bernal, brilliant pass of his left hand. And as Brett Connon stepped into that tackle, left the space on his outside, and that was the one that Saracens exposed. Still had some work to do down that outside channel, but as you mentioned earlier on, Tobias Elliott making Premiership Rugby look fairly simple this season.
26 points to 7, and the man who has been captaining Saris for much of the season whenever Maro Itoje's not been around, even Funsale, doing the business again. Reminder as well that as things stand, if Saracens go on to see this out, take a bonus point win, they would clamber above Sale Sharks, the team who put them to the sword in their last match 2 weekends ago. Sale currently occupying 3rd place, having lost to Leicester last night. Saracens would go above them by a point with the full 5 today. Meanwhile, Newcastle have been forced into a change. Max Clark, who wasn't due to be starting this one, was elevated to the starting 15 because Connor Doherty went down in the warm-up. He's hurt himself chasing Funsale, so Max Pepper, who was a travelling reserve, has come on. In fact, it might be Ollie Spencer, beg your pardon, jersey 23, into that midfield. So Newcastle onto their 3rd outside centre, and we're not even halfway through this game. Here's over to Yinbo, scored a try on that. Last time Newcastle won away from home, a couple of years ago. Passes like that, just not finding targets.
Now that for me is just a sign of, it's almost desperation. They're that desperate to make massive inroads into this Saracens attack, to turn opportunities into real possession, real opportunities for points. You end up losing the patience that you should have to build through the phases. The offload may well have looked like it was on, but maintaining that possession is so much more important.
Still moving. Still moving. Still moving. Still moving.
Have a look at this.
No, still moving.
All inching forward with the cadence of a Sherman tank. Funsale, perhaps a little too much oomph on that one, but Hell couldn't take it. Cannons off his chest. Big territorial gain.
Well, it definitely would have been swirling around above the StoneX, that ball, as it came down toward Alex Hurl, but got himself in all sorts of trouble in terms of his positioning. You need to have that ball up in front of you so you can follow it all the way in. He's twisting, turning, trying to get a good view of it coming down.
Saracens once again taking up prime real estate in the Falcons 22. And they set the drive once more. Dan in command at the back.
Out 7 now, move!
Few Falcons sheared off. And now the backs come in to add their weight and their snarl. Tompkins in there. Shegan in there. Itoje at the rear, hunting for the try. They'll never stop him. Lions captain on Thursday, back to the day job, back to domestic business, back to the business of Premiership try scoring for the great Maro Itoje.
Well, there was definitely an air of inevitability about that. Exactly the same setup that we saw for Theo Dan's try just a few minutes ago. and the same numbers arriving. As soon as they see that momentum change, they start to join, and Maro Itoje just choosing exactly when was the right time to break left.
First Saracen to be named Lions captain. Fergus Burke into the breeze, perfect. 33 home points plundered.
Sponsored by Pathlight Associates. Sonic Stadium, the score, Saracens 33, Newcastle Falcons 7.
Individual errors have really cost Newcastle in this first half an hour. Simple mistakes, individual errors cost the team collectively, and their ability to try and defend those driving mauls just isn't coming up anywhere near the standard they need. Discipline slid slightly as well, which has just allowed Saracens to continually get back down with relative ease into that Newcastle half.
Well, I told you, by the way, was telling us all at the O2 the week about how we found out to be Lions captain. Andy Farrell, an Irish number he didn't recognise, rang him on Tuesday. The line broke up, didn't get his words out. Andy Farrell hung up, and Maro Itoje was left hanging. Here goes Gonzalez, over the top to McFarland. All the skills are going. McFarland is a runaway train. Eventually they haul him down, and a steal. Saracens say they stole it back, but Jamie Blamire with a brilliant piece of defensive scrambling.
Well, he did brilliantly in the first place just to get back, because he was away, wasn't he?
Hey, time off that.
Theo McFarland, look at him holding the ball like that's like a peanut. Jamie Blamire getting in over the ball. Or did he come in from behind the hind feet? But arguable, but all the same, Newcastle winning the penalty. Crucial that he had
that blood.
the ability to get his hands on the ball there.
Clear out, he rolled down as the lad came down.
So, seasonal members, this is your reminder that you have
The injury just sustained there by Jamie Blamire, a stray knee or an elbow to the head, just a rugby incident. But again, Thomas, another of these top-ranked Falcons players who'll be leaving in the summer. Callum Chick to Northampton, Jamie Blamire to Leicester Tigers, elsewhere on the East Midlands circuit. Adam Radwan already gone to Mattioli Woods, Welford Road. Max Pepper joining his brother Guy in the West Country, Guy at Bath. Max heading to Bristol. The flow of talent is very much heading out of the club rather than into the club, while they look for new investment. They try to keep the wage bill down and build a sustainable future. If you're losing young local talent, Ben Redshaw, another who 20 years old, is going to be heading out of the door. That's a big concern.
It's a big concern, but as Steve Diamond said in his pre-match interview, right now for them that's the best decision for those players. If they're getting offers which are better for them individually, then they have to take that. It's a short career. They need to look after themselves and move towards the goals that they've set themselves individually. But I think if everything we're hearing is correct, there will be people that see Newcastle as a real opportunity. The catchment area of that club is enormous. Yes, it's fighting against the likes of Newcastle United and big other sports, but actually a winning team attracts fans, and it doesn't matter. It's been proved in the Northeast that sports fans buy into big sporting teams, and all you have to do is get a successful season under your belt and they come back.
And for all the financial problems that are besieging rugby at all levels all over the globe, oddly it mightn't be a bad time to buy in before the value starts to rise again. We shall see. Perhaps some exciting news for Falcons fans at the end of another long and challenging season.
No release.
Well, I think the other thing is, in this situation, they've probably got the best bloke in the business at managing this scenario. He gets it. Steve Diamond's been in various different types of role, different clubs, different situations and the experiences that he would have picked up, that he can pick little bits from to apply to this tough situation for Newcastle right now, will be incredibly valuable.
Still serving a 6-game ban for, well, let's say, some fiery language used to various match officials after the sore loss, particularly frustrating loss for Newcastle down at Exeter a month or so ago. He's not in the hospitality box as he was at Bath 2 weeks ago. He is down in amongst the journalists just behind the Newcastle dugout. Game 3 of 6 out of the coaching booth for Dimes.
Probably quite enjoys it then, isn't it? In amongst the journalists, writing his own headlines.
Here's Alex Hare running the arc. Dusty old pass for Obata Yinbo. It's just stalled Newcastle's momentum. Obata Yinbo scrags, pops the ball inside. Herrell ransacks Tompkins and Daly all over him. Lockwood. Hawkins. Arnold's has to go it alone. Maui deals with him. Stewart looking for Niels, just couldn't cling on to that pill, and then done for holding on.
Well, it's another individual error from Newcastle that's cost them the ball. As we see Steve Diamond in his perch shaking his head, and rightly so, because he knows that it's those individual errors that are gaining in number and they're really costing Newcastle. Sam Stewart just changing the direction, and Neil, I say, dropping a fairly simple pass. There's always pressure on balls like that that cause distractions when defenders are rushing at you, but at this level players will expect.
Katoji from the shadows to the sunlight.
Still moving.
Saracens again happy to eat away at a few inches as inches become yards. And then Fonseca gives Tobias Elliott and his pals something to hear after. Elliott plucks it from the skies brilliantly. Tompkins to Daly, gets it away in the nick of time. Shegan running at Spencer and Arnold. The Falcons gang tackle him. Fonseca down the short side. Here's Theo Dan, he can move. Just dealt with in the end by covering Spencer. Newcastle wanted the penalty there. Saracens have possession. Cleary, Burke, Daly, Tompkins, lovely handling from Saris. Elliott sits down, Chick, goodbye. That's what he's been doing all season. That's why everybody at the StoneX is so excited about what this young man can achieve. Tobias Elliott scoring tries again.
But when you're in the form that man is,
Jack,
when you see a forward ahead of you, your eyes are going to light up.
14, he's onside of the original kick.
Brilliant play from Elliott Daly and Nick Tompkins in the build-up. It's actually going to be brought back for offside, isn't it? It's probably a metre and a half offside.
Jack, I'm going to take you back to the original kick because 14 black is offside.
There's that pass there, which just allowed Saracens to continue on in their attack, but it's going to be scratched
It's going
off.
to come up in a minute, Jack.
Yeah, Mark's on Saracens' 10-metre line, isn't it?
Here we go. So scrum half pick, steps back, and the players in front of him. Yep.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
So just inside 15 and
It's
10.
not going to count this try for Tobias
Spot on,
Elliott. The winger himself just fractionally in front of
Offside.
Fonseca as he stepped back to hoist the box kick.
Callum Chick will be happy about that.
Offside.
I'm
14's
going to
in
watch
front
that
of the
back
kick,
on a
so
Monday
therefore-
morning.
Yeah.
Brilliant step,
14 offside.
but he fortunately won't have to go through that process.
Jack, it's on 5.
Just inside for the 5. Just inside the 5 where the player is, not where the keeper was, sorry.
What do you like about Tobias Elliott, Tom? Playing in one of your old positions anyway, on the wing, 21 years of age, signed a long-term deal just this month. He's got a pretty bright present and an even more enticing future, doesn't he?
Well, first things first, when you're on the wing, you need to be rapid, and he's got pace in abundance, but he's a big unit as well. I think sometimes we forget how big and physical these players are, but their ability to move at pace when they're changing angle, picks good lines.
Here you go, put him on the edge.
You would have learnt off some pretty good players in the back three at Saracens, the likes of Elliot Daly, just coaching him along as he progressed. Certainly, they've got themselves a good one there.
Young Angus Hall has come on for the time being at least. Rotimi Shegan off for a head injury assessment. There's another Newcastle line-out is bungled. But Gonzalez just fumbles on the floor.
Well, he's another one, isn't he? Angus Hall has done well this season. And Saracens, I mean, you've got this incredible combination of the likes of Maro Itoje, Elliot Daly. They've been there, they've done it. Jamie George, I mean, there's a raft of them, Ben Earl. But then you've got this sort of blend of young talent. It's an incredibly exciting place to be for the likes of Mark McCall, Joe Shaw. Provide energy throughout training to keep those older, more experienced heads on their toes.
Bind! Set!
2.5 minutes of the first half remaining. Newcastle want the scrum penalty. They're not going to get it.
Let's go again. Let's come up on the mark.
I agree, but this side was up and across over the mark. No go forward.
Yeah, I think they're both going across, aren't they, equally? Go, go. Put in.
I love that. Doesn't matter who you are, you've always need to bring a new set of boots. Maro Itoje, they're in my bag.
Both square, both down.
Someone's got to go and rummage through a sweaty kit bag. Lucky them.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Same setup, Newcastle, as we saw before, where
Black.
it was Sammy Arnold that knocked the ball on and got advantage.
Well, whatever isn't working for Newcastle, the scrum certainly is. The chance to pop this one into the corner.
First one. Put in.
I think the hole was actually for Sam Stewart. Once the penalty had been given, that Saracens defence came forward so much, it created a huge hole on the inside of, I think it was Fergus Burke, deciding to go through with the planned attack. Not quite going to plan.
Newcastle actually had the bulk of the possession and territory, statistically speaking, against Bath last weekend. 15 visits to the Bath 22, 3 tries to show for it. Conceded a whopping 19 line breaks in that 55-19 loss. Another loose line out, but Brett Connon quickest to react for Newcastle. Stewart to Chick, ploughing his way towards the posts. Saracens pause in there quickly, but tackler not rolling first.
On the 5, on the 5. No, sorry. If I didn't say it, you would though, wouldn't you?
You have to say, and this, I'm not saying this lightly, but when you have 19 line breaks against you, 55 points is not so bad. Scramble defence, let's try and take positives from that, and I think that's what Steve Diamond's trying to do throughout this difficult period. Is you can't just write losses off and move forward. You've got to pick bits out of it that actually can help you build and move forward.
Right, here come a fresh set of kicks for Maro Itoje. Not too happy with his black Under Armour jobs for the first half. He's got a reserve pair, like all good rugby players do. Make sure those insoles are safely in place. What size do you reckon those are, Tom?
Don't know, but those studs are about as long as I am tall. My God. I reckon I could sleep in those shoes, they're that big. Ridiculous sized human being. It's a big bit of kit, isn't he?
Just brilliant scenes through the week. Maro Itoje talking about the iconic Lions captain's dinner, which every newly anointed skipper goes through with the legends of the past. Martin Johnson, Sam Warburton, Gavin Hastings, Finlay Calder, and all the totemic figures of British and Irish Lions lore, dating all the way back to late 1800s. Maro Itoje the next to carry on the baton and continue this wonderful tradition in our sport. And the here and now, though, with his left boot safely replaced, he's got some scrummaging to do. This is where Newcastle have identified a chink in the Saracens' armour. Final play of the first half.
Bind!
Can they hoover up a second try to take them into the sheds? Saracens who got the initial shove on, but
Run it round.
not legally.
Step left and round the corner. No forward movement. There's no forward movement. Okay, scrum.
Newcastle have to try and salvage something, don't
One
they?
more, Callum, one more.
No point in them taking the points. Got domination in the scrum. Just keep trying to eke this out. Put some pressure on Jack Makepeace.
It's Murray McCallum who's winning these penalties at the moment, up against Eroni Maui on the opposite side through the legs of the punter. Murray McCallum eager to win a place on Scotland's summer tour of New Zealand and Fiji. Certainly many Scottish observers concerned by the lack of depth at tight head behind Xander Fagerson at the moment, who will be on the Lions tour with Itoje and everybody else this summer.
Set!
Falcons rev the engine.
On the mark, let's go again.
We'll do it all over again. And it's all getting a little bit tetchy.
It's not exactly what you want to see. It's only a bit of handbags. That's exactly what Newcastle need to do. Need to try and ruffle a few feathers, get in the heads of the Saracens players,
Let's go again.
distract them from what they're doing.
Let's go again.
Saracens clearly frustrated by what Newcastle are doing at scrum time.
A couple of fights being picked with Eroni Maui, who isn't the first man I'd go looking to find if it's a physical altercation to be had.
Chicken.
I think you'd eat me up like a chicken.
Bind! Through the mark.
Oh, Falcons have gone quickly here. Callum Chick nose dives. He thinks he's grounded that. Jack Makepeace not in a position to award it.
Black
I wonder if
offside,
we'll have
hands
another
in
look
front
at
of the
this.
line.
Saracens offside in any case. Neil has a shot. Brocklebank in there too. Right on the home team's whitewash. Itoje slowing things up, as Itoje has made a career out of doing. Total nuisance to the Falcons. Round they go. Still held short. Stewart, Chick again. Saracens underneath him, but the try is awarded. It's Freddie Lockwood, in fact, who's done the damage, who struck the blow, and Newcastle have a second try to take with them into the break.
Well, lots of those picks and go were quite lateral, just allowing Saracens to knock the player onto the ground using their momentum. But that line from Freddie Lockwood, nothing subtle about that. Straight, hard, coming straight directly at you and low. Difficult to stop. Perfect for Newcastle.
So a lot of huffing and puffing, but something for Newcastle to cling to as the players troop off out of the North London sunshine. The first half, though, has belonged almost exclusively to those clad in deep Saracens black. Lions celebrating, Saracens motoring, and they have a handsome half-time advantage as they seek to overtake Sale Sharks in the Gallagher Premiership table. The interval at the Stonex. Saracens lead Newcastle by 33 points to 15. Back out come the Falcons, led by Callum Chick, led as ever by Callum Chick, although they won't be leading them much longer heading to Northampton Saints at the end of the season. And what a contribution he's made to the club he grew up supporting. Saracens back to the party. Maro Itoje bringing out the home team, and they will look to inflict more punishment, more misery, build a big score as they look to clamber back into the playoff places over the course of the weekend. Nothing will be decided for keeps at the end of tomorrow afternoon when Exeter and Northampton meet, but win for Sarries pretty much imperative today, with a trip to Franklin's Gardens and league leaders Bath at home to round off the regular campaign. Off we go again. Fergus Burke with a shorter restart, claimed in the air by Seb de Chavez, the Newcastle Falcon Centurion, and his team with a veritable mountain to scale in the second half. Stewart's kick doesn't hit touch. Alex Goode with a rare mistake, but he recovers well to find Ben Earl. He'll puncture that first line of Newcastle chasers. And quick ball for Saracens, numbers for Saracens. McFarland frees an arm, doesn't he always?
Wonder where there's a bit of space on his outside. I think it was Elliot Daly at that point in time whether McFarland could have got that way.
Burke operating deeper this time. Itoje to Maui, there's a little tip on pass, a 1-2 with the captain in the loose head prop. Here's Tompkins, and Gonzalez scything Newcastle open. The swerve on Stewart, he's away. He doesn't do the ordinary, Juan Martin Gonzalez. A Puma with his claws unsheathed, and Newcastle Falcons shredded.
That's a brilliant finish from Juan Martin Gonzalez.
I've already looked at it, it was just traffic.
Chopped his stride, made sure that he was really accelerating onto that ball. It was nicely delayed, left perfectly. And Sammy Arnold got caught out defensively, just looking in slightly. I'll tell you what, he's got an ability to embarrass many a back.
Well, we saw the stunning feats he visited upon Gloucester just a few weeks ago, and he's back among the tries again. 2 for the day, and Fergus Burke to propel Saracens on to 40 points. There it goes.
Successful conversion, number 10, Fergus Burke.
It's that delay on the pass from Nick Tompkins. Just almost held it half a second. It just makes defenders take half a step more and almost does your job, makes your decision for you. You had to really drop the hammer to get that down. Did brilliantly. Perfect finish.
Timmy Shegan, who we told you was off having a head injury assessment conducted just before half-time, has not passed that assessment, so young Angus Hall will be with us for the duration.
Take a foot for.
And his job here is to give chase to Fonseca's box kick. McFarland there too. Herrell takes it on the spin. Have a look at that counter ruck from Saracens. Ball's exposed, but Gonzalez done for going in at the side.
Yeah, once that had broken down, it left a huge hole which Gonzalez just crept into. Suddenly exposed, it looked pretty obvious.
Brett Connors stuck that in the corner, and Adam Brocklebank has passed his head injury assessment, so he's back with us, and Mickey Newcastle back to the bench for now. Here's Blameyer. Stewart just checked on the pass, and Conan's kick too deep, knocked up by Hall. And Hall not hanging around with the breeze at his back. What a lick he's given that 70-yard howitzer.
Well, it's a poor kick from Brett Conan. When you're close to the opposition line, you've got to try and thread the ball along the floor. If you chip the ball up, it's almost like a Phil Mickelson flop shot, wasn't it? You get the opposition underneath the ball. It makes it easy for them to call a mark and clear the lines like that. And when you've got a draft like we have today, that's an incredible clearance from Angus Hall.
Blameyer goes over the top, but Maui has it. And he delays the pass to Dan, who picks it up so smartly off his bootlaces. Hawkwood's on the ball, and he is rewarded.
He's another one that Newcastle will rely on, I think, moving forward to get themselves some go forward. A big unit, carries well, runs straight. Might not have the dynamism, sorry, getting my words out, that Callum Chick has probably displayed over the past few seasons, but it's certainly something to work with for Newcastle. A lot of young players at their disposal that they can shape into what they need.
Played the ball only, played the ball.
Line out drill, not quite as slick as Newcastle line out coach Scott McLeod would have liked, but Stewart, whose kick is half slapped by the wandering arms of Maro Itoje, back on the Falcons side, rescued by Sammy Arnold. Stewart and McCallum. Conan. Down the left they go with Callum Chick hunting for an offload. Picked up by Ben Stevenson.
No, play out.
Newcastle looking to build some phases. Brocklebank.
Tackle, move.
Slight comparison in the way the two teams are attacking, and where Newcastle try and take the ball into contact, not necessarily that one, but once or twice before, they're the balls that Saracens play out the back. They believe in their ability to get around a defence, whereas perhaps Newcastle lacking a bit in confidence, are just taking the ball more easily into contact.
The upshot is Brett Conan hoofing it down the middle where Fansale is waiting. And Alex Goode can open his legs a little, find space in the backfield. The bounce favouring Conan. Smart little touch on the outside of the boot. And then Ollie Spencer looking for support. It's an extra roll to buy him some time. Conan with it again. Arnold. A bit of room for Newcastle to play here. Callum Chick operating in the wider expanses. Fancies the physical tussle with Tompkins.
First player's got the ball.
But Tompkins has stripped him, and Gonzalez will plunder a hat-trick. You can't take your eyes off him. Just when Newcastle were applying some pressure, one steal, one loose ball, and a third try to the marauding Argentine.
He's such a good player for Saracens to have in their ranks. Reacts brilliantly to everything. Anything that pops up, he attacks. He almost walked it over by the end of it. Spurted out the side of a ruck. First person to react every time. Juan Martin Gonzalez. It's an embarrassment of riches that Saracens have got really in that back row, isn't it?
I promise you he'll be having a look. Alan, that's the process. You've told me he knows.
We are looking.
Yeah, chest good.
2 more points from the boot of Fergus Burke. And Saracens moving on to 47 points.
Fergus is sponsored by
Where do you go if you have to pick 3 out of the Saracens' back row? Incredibly difficult job that the coaches have got.
Callum Chick asking if that went forward from Nick Tompkins.
Picture, I'm sorry.
Stuart Turridge
Here we go. Wait.
working in the background to check these angles.
So there, he's touching the ball, isn't Stu? That's what I've given as a turnover. Watching it on the screen now.
That's not clearly forward, mate.
Okay,
Stony face of Callum Chick, but he is not going to see his wish granted. Try stands. But you're right, Tom, that the depth in that area of the pitch that Mark Muckle has to pick from. Andy Onyama Christie on the bench today, Tom Willis covering second row, but the most prolific meter eater, ball carrier in the league this season. Certainly will have been close to a Lions nod himself from Andy Farrell. Nick Ezekwe can play on the blindside flank. Theo McFarlane's versatile. Such rich options. Earl caught that and then stepped out.
It's just an awareness thing from Alex Hurl. I think he probably could have stepped into touch and caught the ball. That would have been given straight out. Look how close he is to the touchline. Got to be aware in those situations. It's the details, isn't it, that Newcastle are lacking slightly. That's what's been so difficult for them.
Double change for Saracens. The hat-trick hero is off. Juan Martin Gonzalez heading to the bench. Big ovation for him, as you'd expect. And on has come Andy Onyama Christie, continuing his comeback from that just horrifically grotesque injury suffered at the Stoop some months ago. And Jamie George on at hooker for Theo Dan, another who must have been so desperately close to making Andy Farrell's cut this week. Herrell, that's better, that's more confident. Off he goes. Blamire surging through the middle. Oberti-Yinbo's with him. Blamire might fancy a crack here. Oberti-Yinbo against his former club. Back inside to Stewart. Itoje splats him. Conan at scrum half. Lockwood came from half a mile away onto that.
Ball's out.
Ball is loose. Hawkins has to stoop and pick it up.
Tackle!
Newcastle on the prowl for a third try. Neild and Brocklebank are there. Callum Chick has a shot. Hits it off the referee, but Blamire takes it. Lockwood again. Another busy game from the young back row. Stewart. Neild. Met by Itoje, who's put in a big defensive shift today. Chick again. Always willing, always at the coalface. Stewart down the left. The inside ball to Conan. Melted by Maui.
No, Jamie. Thank you.
Stewart again going blind. Brocklebank, he's upended in the tackle. Reverse lights flashing here for Newcastle.
On the ball.
Neild going nowhere.
He's on the ball, grabbing the ball.
Stewart, Lockwood re-establishes some go forward for the Falcons. Little stutter from Stewart allowed Itoje to pick the shot on Sammy Arnold. Newcastle very narrow here. Stewart steals a couple of metres. Blamire digs it out. Chick, his third carry of this attacking set. That's an impactful one. Fighting through Onyama Christie. Ball is loose, intercepted, but
not let go before you've got on the ball.
an early infringement will stop Saracens' breakaway.
Yeah, well, there's also been some the other way in between.
A real intent there from the Falcons. You have to say, in terms of their ability to just get round the corner, Lockwood and Callum Chick putting their hands up massively for the North East team. So difficult when you know you're going to get thumped to just get up, come round the corner time and time again, setting the example. Angus Hall did well to pull out of that, I thought. And then look at this from Jamie Blamire. Dropped the hammer and left Nick Tompkins trailing in his wake.
Let's go.
Newcastle once again have chosen to scrum from this penalty. That eventually led to their second try. Final act of the first half. And Jamie George now spearheading that Saracens front row with all his nous, all his experience, all his caps and tours and medals on the CV.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Well, Newcastle, in terms of the penalties at scrum time, have had dominance, but it's not like Saracens have been massively in reverse.
Keep your elbow up. Let's keep it higher.
But for Newcastle to make the most of this situation, they need to get a huge nudge on so that actually one side of the scrum can go up, or they can just get an incredibly clear penalty and message to Jack Makepeace that Saracens are still in reverse. Difficult position for Mark McCall's men to defend from, right underneath their own posts.
Set.
More solid shape from Saracens. Newcastle have to play. Stewart takes the space that's offered to him and bags himself a double. Clinically done from Newcastle's scrum half, and they have their third try.
I mean, he darted off the back. It was brilliant from Sam Stewart. Sammy Arnold running straight on his outside shoulder just meant that the hole stayed the same. If Arnold doesn't run there, then Nick Tompkins can come in much quicker. As it is, he's concerned about his outside shoulder and then leaves it late. All it needs is half a yard. Newcastle basically right under the sticks.
There'll be no hat-trick for Sam Stewart today. That was his last act of the match. Young Joe Davis, the 19-year-old scrum half, is on to replace him. Luan de Bruin also on a tight head prop for Murray McCallum, who's played a big role in that scrum dominance. As we see another look at Stewart's fine finish. And Tom Gordon, a welcome sight for North East observers. He's been out since the 3rd of January, shoulder and ankle problems, and has come on in the Falcons back row.
No. Jamie.
Might have heard Jamie George in his plaintive cries for a penalty to Saracens there. Wasn't happy that Newcastle Falcons players were allegedly blocking Saracens. Doesn't get the penalty that time, but Saracens' breakdown supremacy soon earns another. Callum Chick just drawing the officials' attention to what he felt was a dangerous collision.
He's been substituted.
And in amongst all that chaos, Mark McCall's changing both of his props. Off will go Ironi Maui and Alec Cleary. On will come Sam Crean and Harvey Beaton.
And 3, yeah, sorry. 1 and 3.
Jamie George looks like he's up for it. Trying to drive energy into this next 25 minutes. Coming on for what is a ball of energy in Theo Dan. Two brilliant hookers.
Nothing's clear in the background. Okay. Callum, we can't just check everything on your referrals.
Itoje at the front for Saracens. One more try to bring up a half-century of points.
Look out, here come the cavalry again.
They've come charging in from the backfield. Jamie George is in the thick of things, looking for a third maul try of the day. And Newcastle have no answers. A bit to check here for the officials, but Saracens' arms were raised very confidently as they crashed over.
So we're just checking it, it's try on field.
No, so you haven't seen the grounding, so you want me to check?
Yeah.
Okay, with me.
Well, it is that man that was trying to drive the energy.
to try on field. Just
See
making
where
sure
he
there's
is in
nothing there.
the middle of all
where he's
that.
been held up. Cheers.
Well, there's the ball, and there was Tommy Gordon doing his best to stop, but the ball is on the ground, and the try will stand. Difficult week for Jamie George. He must have been so close to being named one of Andy Farrell's 3 hookers, but the roar around the Stone X, the love which is projected upon him in these parts will go a long way to salving those wounds this afternoon.
Great kick.
A super nudge from Fergus Burke, using the wind. 54 Saracens points.
Fergus is sponsored by Pathlight Associates. Stunning Stadium at the score, Saracens 54, Newcastle Falcons 21. Come on, Sarries! Substitution for Saracens now, leaving the field on his 400th appearance. Number 15, Alex Goode.
And in amongst all that, the milestone man has bid adieu for today. His first league start of 2025, his 400th game for Saracens, a record-shattering number of matches with this wonderful rugby club. His work for the day is done, and really, when you looked at the faces, the greats of this club who lined the tunnel to serenade him on his way out, you realise just the longevity he has. Everybody from Richard Hill, 2003 World Cup winner, who was celebrating his final match for Saracens when Goode made his debut 17 years ago to the day. Milton Keynes against Bristol, all the way up through Charlie Hodgson, Chris Wiles, the likes of Duncan Taylor and Sean Maitland, who've only just stopped playing. You realise how vast a period and how much success Alex Goode's stint has spanned. Alex Herl, meanwhile, has come a long way for that. Couldn't get there. Hall nearly did. Jamie Blameyer hands to it.
He did well there, Blameyer. Just a twist, turn, keep pumping his legs through that contact, bought himself some time. Newcastle support getting with him to clear that ball.
Earl after it again, but Daly, the versatile Daly, so adept in the backfield. First touch for Tom Willis, bringing some fire and brimstone from the bench. Fonsale, Daly, crossfielder where Ben Earl is on his bike, but
Halfway line.
a little too much on it.
See what he was trying to do. The space was in there behind. Definitely going to be difficult facing that direction as a defensive winger into the sun. Just too much club that time.
Change for Saracens now, leaving the field. Number 9, Ivan Fonsale.
Change at scrum half for Saracens, even Fonsale coming off. And Charlie Bracken, one of the 2 Bracken boys who ply their trade here with their dad Kieran, another one of the 03 World Cup winning contingent. Strutted his stuff for so many years.
Changes for Newcastle Falcons, leaving the field. Number 2, Jamie Blameyer.
Double sub for Newcastle to tell you about as well. John Hawkins, Jamie Blameyer, both being withdrawn, and Ollie Fletcher and young Oscar Usher, who made his professional debut at Bath a couple of weekends back on. Here's Arnold. One more try for a bonus point for Newcastle. Had a couple of those in losing causes this season. Home to Northampton, away at Bristol Bears. Didn't quite get there against Bath last weekend. Davis for Arnold. Connon, smart dummy from Brett Connon. I told you, trying to reel him in. He's got Stevenson up the outside. Ben Stevenson puts down the hammers and gasses the cover. Newcastle have their bonus point.
That was exactly the point I was trying to make earlier on. Sammy Arnold just pulled the ball out of the back, which let the pressure valve off. The line speed is applying the pressure. That ball out the back puts Saracens in real difficulty. And then Brett Connon in behind, just angling infield, drawing the last defender, letting the ball do all of the hard work. Look, as he comes in, it just means that Elliot Daly has to turn his shoulders slightly, and as soon as he's done that, he's dead in terms of a defender. A brilliant, brilliant score from Newcastle. Bonus point.
9th try of the season for Ben Stevenson. He has been a bright spark in a pretty gloomy few months for the club. And Brett Connon kicking into the teeth of this rather aggressive breeze. Oh, it's hit the post, but it's gone through. 54-28.
Love that finish from Newcastle. Belief, just get the ball out the back, put it into those decision makers' hands. I wonder who's he's ringing.
Mark McCall once again sending for reinforcements and sending for the former Falcon, Louis Johnson, another of the young talent we talked about in the first half who have decided that their futures lie elsewhere. Louis Johnson and Phil Brantingham both swapping Kingston Park for the Stonecks at the end of last season. A biceps injury limiting Johnson's impact the course of current campaign. And he's back fit and he's back playing again. George just through the fingers of Itoje, and Ollie Fletcher on it quickly for Newcastle. Connon, Gordon.
There's that ball again.
Arnold delayed the pass, but Earl couldn't take it with him. And Elliot Daly does the litter picking for Saracens. Here's Hall. Big shoulder from the young man.
Well, that time I think it was Tom Gordon. Might not have made the scything line break they did before, but it just allows them to get onto the front foot, get into soft shoulders. The temptation as a player, when you've got defenders running towards you and you feel like there's no space on the outside, is to take it into contact. That's what defenders want you to do. If you can shift that point of attack, inevitably, 9 times out of 10, there's a tiny little bit more space, just one more pass out.
How do you assess Saracens' title credentials, Tom? They've had an up and down season in some senses, some frustrating losses in the Champions Cup and in the Premiership, but towards the end of the campaign they put all their eggs in the league basket and they'll be right in amongst the playoff places as the run-in heats up. Have they got what it takes to claim a 7th title?
I think, just coming back to the point we were talking about earlier on, it's the strength in depth, right? If you get those strong players, the ones with a real steely edge to their mentality as well, a drive to win. There's so many players in that squad that have been there and done it. They know what they're doing. It's just a case of getting the right momentum into the games that they've got to come. They've got a tough away fixture next week at Franklin's Gardens. Two teams that largely don't necessarily like each other too much. It's not going to be an easy end to the season, but that's what makes this Gallagher Premiership so exciting year in, year out. A few points either way can have a massive effect on your season.
Set.
Saracens look to have turned the tables at scrum time. They have their penalty.
They're slightly improved, aren't they, since the arrival of Jamie George at scrum time. Slightly sturdier, winning a penalty of their own. And that is a huge, huge kick from Elliot Daly. Bang on, couldn't really have asked for more, maybe a metre and a half more. As Sammy Arnold leaves the field for Newcastle.
Yeah, Max Pepper, who was a travelling reserve today, elevated to the bench, on for Arnold. Mickey Newcastle on in the front row for Aaron Brocklebank. Here comes Sarries, Willis and Bracken has a run in. The ruthlessness of this Saracens team on show again, and they are taking the opportunities presented to them.
Well, and that's a sign of a team that is in the right frame of mind when it comes to this point of the season. Don't let your foot off the gas. Don't let teams off the hook. Brilliant ball from Tom Ellis. Tom Ellis? Tom Willis? Tom Ellis finished playing about 6 years ago, didn't he? Slip of one letter.
How about that from Louis Johnson? Fresh off the bench, bisecting the post from the touchline.
They work so hard on those set-piece moves. And Tom Willis just stepping back, moving forward into the space on the pass. Stroll in for a young Bracken.
Max Pepper, you'll see, playing minus his squad number today. And Tom Willis setting up the platform for Bracken to send it skywards. Ball that Obuti collide. Cam Neild comes up with possession. Davis and Chick to Obuti again through the dummy and got castled.
Came off the foot of the Newcastle player. More through the mark.
Up it goes again from Bracken. Off again goes Angus Hall. Just knocked that one forwards. And Newcastle can choose scrum or line out.
Well, if it had been 15 minutes ago, I think they would have gone for a scrum, but since the arrival of Jamie George, as I say, it's made a difference. What do Newcastle decide to do? They have taken the scrum.
Are you happy?
Perhaps understandably, given the score, that the energy levels inside the Stonex have just plateaued and perhaps dipped a little. Seen their team stick 61 points in 70 minutes upon the beleaguered Newcastle Falcons. And you get the sense there are more tries out there for them if they can get possession under their control again. And perhaps a springboard to propel themselves onwards. Cinch Stadium at Franklin's Gardens next weekend, and then they finish the regular season against league leaders Bath, who have the unassailable advantage in top spot. Leicester Tigers a moment in second. Bath in action just now against Bristol, through in Cardiff at the Principality. Gloucester, who are also firmly in the mix along with Sarries, riding on the coattails of the Tigers and Sale Sharks at the moment, playing later today against Harlequins. And then we're at the East Midlands again when Northampton take on Exeter tomorrow.
No.
Davis, kick is half charged down. Angus Hall can't get there, and it'll be a Newcastle throw.
Cheers, mate.
If you come away to Saracens and you get a bonus point for the number of tries you've scored, you've got to go away and start to build on the positives. Defensively and individually, they've cost themselves. Certainly in the first 40 minutes, I think they let themselves down, did Newcastle. Oof. But there's something definitely for them to build upon.
Spencer out the back to Conan. Newcastle playing with a bit more ambition here as Obotiinbo steps up to the 22. Davis nailed into Mickey Rucastle, another of these young tyros around which Newcastle will build. Obotiinbo and Pepper just couldn't take that one cleanly. Still the Falcons have it. Davis, Fletcher, Chick, Hurl, De Chavez, Tommy Gordon with the crash bang wallop. Ball is loose, it's gone backwards, and then Oscar Usher gets onto it. Maroto just got to let the younger man go. Davis to Callum Chick over the top. Well, taken by Spencer. Oh, he's throwing dummies and sidestepping and torpedoing his way into the 22.
Play on, all play on. Ball's exposed.
Goodness me, this is scrappy. Callum Chick over the top. Elliot Daly back to Theo McFarland, once an international basketball player. Exactly the sort of game he wants to be involved in. Nick Ezekwe's down injured for Saracens, but Ben Earl sees space. And now they are going to take the pragmatic route. Louis Johnson bangs it deep. Elliot Obotiinbo with a lot of ground to cover. He's never going to get there. And Newcastle will have to throw in down by their own 22 again.
Well, if you compare the exit strategy that Saracens have used over the past 10 minutes to what we saw from Newcastle in the first 40, Newcastle tried to play one or two phases and then go long, when actually that sort of played into Saracens' hands. They could see what was coming. Saracens opting to kick much more early in their possession of the ball. Granted, they have the ability to do that with the scoreline sitting as it is, but there, Louis Johnson just sitting right back in the pocket and just saying, right, just pass me the ball, I'm going to hit it 60 metres long. And I wonder if Newcastle had done that, they would have relieved some of that early pressure that we saw that was put upon them by Saracens.
Newcastle finished their season first at home to Gloucester, last match at Kingston Park of the term. In 6 days' time they'll be there, Kingston Park, on Friday nights before they head off to Mattioli Woods, Welford Road, and take on Leicester Tigers to finish their campaign. And then we'll see what the summer brings, what any potential new investment might bring. Uncertain times, Newcastle fans will cling to the hope that a saviour could yet emerge, that some fresh funds could be injected into the club, and that the good times could yet be coming again. And the here and now, this has been another painful experience for them on their travels. Davis goes high, steepling kick for Ben Stevenson to chase, but he's beaten to it, and the counter-attack is on. Elliott gone. Wonderful cover tackle from Pepper, but Earl picks it up, and Earl scores the try.
Well, it's Ben Earl that manages to get the ball down, but all of the hard work done by that man, Tobias Elliott. What an afternoon he's had. I told you he was big. He's just fended Tom Gordon and swatted him off. He's got away from Pepper, who, to be fair to him, did brilliantly to track back and go low to get Elliott to the ground. But that is a massive fend to create himself some space, and then just takes off, backs himself, and then awareness and ability to pop the ball off. And Ben Earl, he does it pretty well, doesn't he? That support line in behind. Great score from Saracens.
Another super kick from Louis Johnson, and Saracens move on to 68 points. It's a rout. Tom Willis, nobody has carried more ball, nobody has beaten more defenders than the Saracens. Number 19 today, typically number 8.
9, take it in.
In fact, he's beaten a fifth of all the defenders beaten by Saracens this season. An astonishing record. Here's Onyama Christie. Saracens not done yet. Bracken, Johnson, Daly, the swooping pass over the top. Pearl couldn't get there. Tompkins back to Ben Earl. He's on a hat-trick too. Johnson, Willis. Stonex finding its lungs and its voice again. Johnson looking for options. Daly helps him out. Here's McFarlane galloping away. Ball in one hand, the dummy and then the pass. And maybe one would have sufficed. Right, in amongst the chaos, Tom May, your Gallagher Premiership player of the match.
Well, there's been a huge amount of players that have put their hand up. Tobias Elliott has been brilliant on that right wing, but for me, in the back row, Juan Martin Gonzalez is my Gallagher Premiership player of the match. There he is, 3 tries, made it look very easy. He's an incredible player for Saracens. He's obviously buzzing about it as well, look. Smile, man, come on.
I hope he's got some hair gel in his kit bag. Still only 24 years of age, Juan Martin Gonzalez. You think about the ceiling he could have in the game, the skills he's got, the physicality he's got. Newcastle line, it goes awry. Crane and Beaton working hard to win it back for Saracens. Earl sends it wide. Step and the shimmy from Elliott. Angus Hall calling for it on the left touchline. It's working its way in that direction, but then Johnson leaves it behind. And it'll be a Newcastle scrum as we approach the final 2 minutes of this match.
You've just seen there the ability of Ben Earl and why some people believe that he could play in the centre if needs be. He's just thrown a 20-metre left-hand pass on the money to that far touchline. Incredible bit of skill. He's functioning right now in that midfield and absolutely loving it.
Crouch. Bind. Set.
Saracens making a mess of the Newcastle scrum, but no penalty coming this time. Check carried. Davis, what a Gray off to the right-hand side. Newcastle opt to keep it tight. Here they come again. Ollie Spencer cutting back on the inside. Davis, deeper ball to Connon, challenging the gain line, but coming up empty-handed. Saracens penalty. Just hasn't happened for Newcastle at the breakdown today.
Well, he ran into some big traffic there, did Brett Connon. 1, 2 Saracens defenders and Nick Tompkins doing what he does incredibly well. Making the tackle, getting to his feet, competing for the ball.
Another wonderful Elliott Daly left-footed touch finder has parked Saracens squarely at Newcastle's front porch. Itoje takes and wrestles the ball back. Penalty advantage to Saracens. Willis, he'll take some stopping. They won't stop him. Like a runaway elephant, Tom Willis. He's done that all season, and he does the business again for Saracens.
Well, he stays well on his feet and just fights his way through contact, skips, and then accelerates again into the space. Tom Willis, largely unstoppable this season. Massive smile on his face.
Eight 18 carries, 10 beaten defenders, 3 offloads last weekend. A 20-minute shift off the bench this time, capped with a try. And the cake iced once again by Louis Johnson. 11, yes, 11 Saracens tries as Newcastle Falcons are put to the sword in the North London sunshine. Tom Willis completing the routes, a hat-trick for Juan Martín González, and a double and a week to celebrate for Ben Earl after his maiden British and Irish Lions call-up. Saracens had to win this match, ideally with a bonus point, and they have held up their end of the bargain. With 2 rounds to go in the Gallagher Premiership, they will usurp Sale Sharks and for now move above them in the table. The playoff spots are up for grabs. The Gallagher Premiership run-in is coming to the boil. Saracens have thrashed Newcastle by 75 points to 28.